All right, welcome back to Off the Tap. This week it's episode 98, and we're doing 318 Golden Ale from Great Raft Brewing.
It took me forever to. I was like, "What is this beer called?" Because I thought 318 was the brewery.
Yeah, no. Well, here's the funny thing about that is I went to do a little bit of research on this, and I usually look up, the brewery and the beer on Google, and I did that, and it brought me to 318.com or something. And so I was looking, and I was like, is this the only beer they do? I'm so confused. No, they just have a separate website for that specific beer for some reason.
Really?
I mean, they have
So
this
this has
beer
to be.
on their brewery website as well, but for some reason there's a 318 website. But I did find out that because I was going to call it 318, but that's not the name of it. The name of it is 318 because
Yeah,
that's the
because it's
area
an
code.
area code.
Yeah.
Obviously. Well, we'll get into that in a minute. It's probably the largest area code in the state of Louisiana. Maybe second, but it's not by popularity, but by square footage.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, I
Yeah.
mean, I didn't know that because I've been calling it 318 just because, that's just kind of in my brain how it made more sense. But
Like
obviously that's not it.
like the Before we get into the stats on it, because we're just gonna set a stake in this, and we're just gonna set everybody's mind right. The loop that runs around Conroe, Texas. What is
Okay.
that loop called?
336.
Okay, 336, right?
Yeah.
Not 336.
Right. But
Okay.
to be
I
fair,
just
also, it's like our area code isn't
Be
936.
fair. No, it's 936, but the
Yeah.
loop is pronounced 336.
Yeah. I'm just saying there's different ways to do it, but yeah, I
Do
agree. That's why.
you say, oh, you need to take a right on 3083?
Dude, okay, no. We
No,
don't.
it's 3083,
Yeah,
right?
it's 3083, yeah.
Yeah, so 936 318. It's the same thing.
Yeah. I agree. I'm just saying.
Okay. No, I feel
Uh
you. I'm just saying there's certain people out there, at least one, that says fucking 336, and it's infuriating. It gives me that like ugh feeling.
yeah.
That's ugh, I
You
don't want to talk
it's
to you
all it's
anymore kind of
almost
feeling.
like you need to exit loop 336 north and you kind of look at that person, you're like, "Where the hell is that?"
Yeah,
You know
I've
what I
never
mean?
been
Like
there before.
I've never, and it could be someone that you've grown up with in that area, and you'll be like, I've never been there before. Where's that at? You mean
You guys aren't gonna
336?
Yeah, you guys aren't gonna believe this, but we were coming through Porter and we were on 1314, and it was
Where?
very confusing. Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
You were where?
Say it how
Never.
you're taught to say it.
Yeah. All right.
Just
So
go with what the news says. Anyways, what's the jersey on this bad boy?
so this is, I
Were you
mean,
able to find an ABV?
well, yeah, obviously it's a golden ale, and slash blonde is what I got from Untapped.
Okay.
It's a 4.0 on the ABV
Yep.
and a 20
Confirm
on
on
the
the can.
IBUs.
Damn. So this might be what do
Yep.
we say? A Michelob's a 10. Michelob's a 4-1 and 10.
Yeah, I believe
And
so.
this is a 420, so it's gonna have same amount of alcohol, but a lot more taste to it. So
420.
ale brew, yeah, the can, nice. I see what
Yeah.
you did there. Anyways, lame-o. Anyways, Great Raft Brewing,
Yeah.
ale brewed honey and orange peel. So I'm getting Blue Moon vibes, but not a wheat. So this might be up my alley.
Yeah. I'm interested. That's kind of interesting. Yeah, I don't think I've ever had like a citrusy beer like that that's not a wheat, if I'm being honest.
I Yeah, neither have I. I've also never heard of Great Raft Brewing.
Well, I mean, me either, clearly. I mean, it's a Louisiana thing, but you know what shocked me a little bit about this can, because I love the can. We haven't discussed that yet. I love it.
Yeah,
Those colors just are synonymous with beer for me. That like navy blue and goldish accent, you
yeah,
know?
that is true.
It really is just synonymous. But this is what struck me with it, right? I saw it for the first time, and I
Mhm.
was like, "Oh, that's so cool! I've never seen the state of Louisiana on a beer can." Because my ass being from Texas has always seen Texas on a beer can.
That is true.
You know, and like I don't
This
ever see California on a beer can or like Florida on a beer can.
that's very true. I think most states aren't putting their shape on a can. Like I don't know
No.
if it's not a pride thing, but like Texas immediate like, all right, we don't know what to do with this. We'll fucking obviously start off with the state of
Yeah.
Texas, and then we'll
Yeah.
figure out what else to put on it. You know what I mean?
It's like a simplistic branding thing in Texas. They're like, well, we have to let them know visually where it's from immediately, right
Yeah,
off the rip.
100%.
You know, yeah. Well, there was no doubt about that,
Yeah,
Greg. What the hell are you talking about?
yeah. Do you want it to be like a realistic state with like all of the islands on the end, or do you want it to be cartoonish? Doesn't matter, dude. It could, like you pulled it off of a globe, off of a school map. It doesn't matter.
Just Google
Just the
state of
the
Texas
general outline.
and give me the first PNG that pops up. That's what I want.
Yeah. So you're right. It is kind of odd to see Louisiana on a beer can. Also, I don't know why, but this is not going to be like fitting, but like for some reason, dude, when I think of rafts,
Mm-hmm.
rafts, the plural of raft,
Like multiple
rafti,
rafts.
M- multiple rafts, or one single raft. I don't think of Louisiana, dude. I think of like the mountains and shit, like
Yeah.
Utah. You know what I
I
mean?
think
Like
like Colorado,
Montana.
like
Yeah.
white water rafting. There we
Yes. I'm
go.
telling you, raft's a tough word. So when I think of Great Raft Brewing, I would put that in any other state besides the boot. Like
Yeah.
people aren't like you got an outboard motor, an illegal outboard motor mounted on a flat bottom boat. Like you're not rafting
And
in the
your
great state of Louisiana.
and your butt's
Great's
getting
relative.
burnt. Your butt's getting burnt on the aluminum of that boat as well.
Yes, and it's
Mm,
probably been patched a million times. I mean, you can say whatever you want about the boat, but I just don't. Raft is not like if you were
mm-mm.
taking a test, you know what I'm talking about, and they were
Yeah.
like, sock is to shoe as you know,
Yeah.
glove is to I don't know. You know what I'm saying? The
Yeah.
whatever, right? They raft is to not Louisiana waterway. I just don't get that vibe
Yeah.
at all.
If that was like part of the
But
citizen test, and someone was like, "Where do you think Great Raft Brewing is from?" Louisiana would be my 50th option out of 50 states.
1,000%, I would like. I don't know. Maybe what is the territory? But maybe Costa Rica. I don't know. That would fit before
maybe,
freaking or not. Yeah, Costa Rica,
maybe Puerto Rico.
Puerto Rico. Yeah, no, Costa Rica is a different country. Maybe Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
All right. So 318. It's hold on. First off, I'm gonna get a color check. From the Shreveport,
Mm. So
Louisiana. Okay, so dude, pretty color. I didn't have it in a an actual cup, but I got it in a solo. It's got the generic. I don't want to say generic, but it's got the generic beer color to it, and I mean
oh well,
it's pretty. Had a
that's
thick
not a
head that's
bad
still
thing to
creamy.
me. That's not a bad
No,
thing
that's
to me at
perfect.
all.
That's where you want to be. Okay, ready?
Generic beer color is what I look for in beer. You know what I mean? That's what we want.
Okay, I'm not gonna give anything away right now, but it's a little sweeter than I would want it to be. It's not wheat sweet, but it does, dude. It's kind of got that Blue Moon vibe, but without the wheat.
It's
I
not
dig it.
it's not sweet.
It's not sweet.
Sweet.
It's a wheat beer.
Dude, what does mine say? Dude, what does mine say?
Yeah. What does
Sweet.
mine say?
But what does mine
Um,
say?
You know, it's another a reference that I find being used a lot. Or I say there's one particular person that uses it, but it's funny to me because I didn't get it the first time they said it, and then after like the second or third time, it made sense to me. But we, she never disclosed exactly where the reference came from. I had to figure it out on my own. We would have like a talk that was like pointless, or that was shitty, or that was like very depressing, or maybe it was exciting, but it was very brief and simplistic. And she'll just go, "Good talk, Rust."
Wait, what?
You know what that's from?
No.
Good talk, Rust. Good talk, Rusty.
Oh, okay. From
You know what I'm talking
vacation?
about? Yes.
Oh my
Whenever they
god.
always have like those random conversations, and it'd be like, "Good talk, Rusty."
Yeah.
Rust.
Yeah.
Anyways, that's a good point. So it's basically like a wheat, and I do get Light honey, maybe that's the sweetness. I do get a little, I don't want to say necessarily orange peel, but I get non-lemon citrus. We've talked extensively about this. There's
Yeah.
a big difference between tasting lemon and tasting non-lemon citrus. I pretty much, I can always isolate lemon, but all of the other
Yeah,
citruses,
like
I'm
orange
gonna
or
try to make it work.
grapefruit or something like that. They all kind of blend together.
A
Um,
1000%. They're
yeah.
always gonna be the same.
It's because lemon is so much sour than everything else, though. That's why. It's not a bad
Possibly,
thing,
it's just
but you
kind
know.
of no, it's just kind of very. It's a lot different than the other citruses.
Oh yeah, the citri, for sure.
Listen, try. Yeah, that's obviously not. Anyway, so Great Raft, and maybe now that I look at it, there's like a little steamboat on the side of it. That's very
Mm.
Louisiana. You
Like
know,
a oh,
riverboat, river
okay, like
steamboat.
okay, yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Maybe that's what they're trying to call a raft.
Mm-hmm.
You know, yeah, that would make sense for sure. That's like I don't know if anyone else listening or watching has ever played Red Dead Redemption or Red Dead Redemption 2, but
Yeah.
I could see them drinking this in that game. Cuz they're in like there's a city that's like essentially New Orleans. It's like a swampy back canal city, you know what I mean? And I would
Mm-hmm.
definitely see like a steamboat thing like that rolling through the canal or something.
Yeah, so that's what they're calling a raft. When I think raft, I think of like
Yeah, like a
dinghy, like whitewater raft.
I don't a dinghy. Well, yeah, I guess it is a dinghy, isn't it? Yeah,
Basically.
yeah,
If we're talking about it, first off, let's talk. Let's dive a little bit into Louisiana, and because there's a couple of points
yeah.
that I have to make here. Is I think Louisiana, I might be wrong, but Louisiana gets forgotten about until they do something wrong, and then everybody's putting them on blast. You know what I'm saying? They could do a bunch of things right. It might be a short list, but they could do a bunch of things right, and nobody's ever paying attention until they do something wrong, and then they're like, "You guys seen this shit going down in Louisiana lately?" And I'm like, "Yeah, but where the hell have you been for like the past 12 months when they've been kind of like toeing the line of normalcy?" You know?
Yeah. Yeah, that is very true. That's very
You see what
true.
I'm saying? I think there's a couple of states that fall into that category, but not any more than Louisiana. Like, I think everybody everywhere is like, "Oh, New Orleans." Everybody's like, "Ah, Louisiana's crazy," but they just kind of get forgotten about otherwise. You know what I mean? Food, alcohol, that's it. That's what people know about, right?
Yeah, food and I
Um,
would say like partying, right? Because New
yeah, that's what
Orleans.
people. Yeah, I think Mississippi kind of gets the and terrible education. I think Mississippi kind of gets that vibe a little bit, you
Yeah.
know, because
Mhm.
but they just get forgotten about until something crazy goes down. They're like, yeah, look at these idiots down there, and you're like, yeah, but they were kind of like half-ass doing okay before that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they were hanging in there, you know,
Yeah,
and
and I
then
mean,
y'all just
obviously,
come
as
along whenever things get bad.
exactly. It's like, where were you guys when were progressive with this thought process, or when we invented this, or whenever we manufactured this or brought this to the world? You weren't there to raise us up and put us on the old pedestal. But
And
now that
congratulate
we're
us. You know
exactly
what
now that
else
we did some,
is last week we talked pretty extensively about the hurricane that hit us, right? Hurricane Beryl. But
Mhm.
I even feel like, and obviously since like social media has been as big as it is now, there hasn't been like a significant hurricane that has hit Louisiana like Katrina did, you know, or anything like that.
Yeah.
Which thank God. But I feel like even when like a hurricane hits Louisiana, everyone's like, oh well, they're getting hit again. Like no one's ever
Yeah,
worried. They don't even worry about Louisiana really. They're just like, well, we got a hurricane that's most likely going to go to Louisiana because that's where they always go. So, you know,
dude, and
everyone buckle down.
it's it's so hilarious that you say that. I mean, it's not hilarious because it's true. But like me and Katie were talking about like all of the preliminary coverage of Burl, right?
Yeah.
Or Beryl or whatever they're calling it, Burl. The preliminary coverage was like just super extensive, and like all of these different pathways and all these
Yeah.
things, all this stuff. And I told her, I'm like, dude, if this thing was hit in Louisiana, they'd have covered it for fucking 15 minutes and we would have never
It
known
would.
again. Like if the trajectory was just straight to Louisiana, they would have been like, "Hey,
No.
hurricane's coming," and then back to your regularly scheduled programming of this turtle that's 110
Yeah.
years
It
old.
it would have
Like
been like
shit that
it
we
would have
don't
been
care about.
like ESPN covering the Colorado Rockies. Like Colorado Rockies
Yes,
could be like unbeaten for the entire season so far, and they would cover the Rockies for like 5 minutes about, and then go straight back to the Dodgers and Yankees and the Lakers
and
and the
the only
Cowboys.
clip, the only way that you would know it is just because you saw a little blip of a purple jersey, and you'd be like, "What was that?" And then it would be off the screen. If
Yeah.
I didn't have subtitles that were so latent, I would never know that the Rockies even played baseball.
No, exactly.
Anyways, um, but yeah, so there's that. The other thing too is, I mean, being a Texan, I think, of all the relationships, people shit on. There's some pretty like staunch, like we always joke about not liking um Oklahoma. It's a little bit of a joke or whatever, but I would say for the most part, the boot's kind of our little brother. Like we're always
Oh
trying to
yeah.
look out for each other. At least the eastern part of the state, because if you think about it, Houston suffers from a lot of the same. I mean, really, the majority of the things that East Texas and and the Gulf area of Texas, the Houston and all that, we
Yeah.
suffer from the same things. Rednecks, drugs, and oil. And that's
Yeah.
pretty much all of what Louisiana suffers from too. They call them something different, but it's like drugs, oil, um, a lot of chicken, dead animals, chickens, things like that. And then like we're very similar. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. For sure.
And Shreveport's no exception. I mean, I was joking a little bit. I'm not gonna be as harsh. I was joking a little bit precast about just Shreveport's not the most beautiful, awesome place on the planet. But if you paired it next to like what East Texas is around it, it's a fucking diamond in the rough, is what it is.
Yeah.
Compared to the other East Texas that's around it. Okay. Um, and just like the Lake Charles, the New Orleans, all the Gulf based places are basically just Houston, but kind of cleaner, which is crazy to say out loud. You know what I
Oh
mean?
wow. Really? So I mean, I
Yeah.
obviously like I've like we went to New Orleans, so I've been to New Orleans.
Yeah.
Um and I've been to Thibodeau, clearly.
hmm
But that's really all I've been Louisiana. So I've never been toward Shreveport, so I have no idea.
Oh, dude. Well, yes. So Shreveport's in the top of the boot, right? The
Mm,
very, it's
yeah.
like if somebody were to shoot you in your calf. That's basically where they
Yeah.
would be if the boot was real hot. But halfway between your Achilles and the thick of your calf is where Shreveport is.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, right there at like the U,
Okay.
kind of like right in the U of your calf muscle, you know?
Yeah, like if you're real stacked, that's where it would square off. You know what I'm
Yeah.
talking about?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
got you.
Um, and then, I think, people, I don't want to say it gets I don't know, most people even from Louisiana would say like anything like that far north and north of I-10, further north of I-10, but that far north is pretty much just East Texas, Southern Arkansas. They have a lot of the similar vibe. You know what I mean? Not
Mm,
disrespectful. I mean, they're still Louisianians, and they still got drastically different food, but they're more like, Cowboys, East Texans. It's not as much of like the
okay.
coon ass like flat, um, you know, very flat speech that you get when you get into like New Orleans and down the bayou and all that, right? Like the
Yeah.
area that continues down the bayou past New Orleans, like Berg, Homa, Cutoff, Galliano, Golden Meta, Grand Isle, all that area.
We're talking like
Um,
Water Boys slash like what was the show? The Crocodile
Swamp
Hunting show,
People,
Swamp People show. Yeah,
yeah,
like
Swamp People. I mean,
that kind of talking's what's down south, but that's not up north, is what you're
no,
saying.
up north is going to be a lot, and also too, people, there are a lot more. Dude, this is another thing. I mean, we don't have the time to break into Louisiana, but like, when places claim they want to be a melting pot, in my opinion, there's not more as much influence. Like, I don't know the history of all of like Wisconsin, but like, there's obviously a lot of Polish people that settled there. There's some
Yeah,
French, obvious. folks like that, German, I'm sure. But like, dude,
T-Pain
you get a,
put someone up in a
I
mansion up
mean,
there.
you yeah, I mean, so I hear.
Yeah.
Um, but on this day, no, but Louisiana truly, dude, I mean, you've got all of those, you know, you have some Eastern European, Central European influence, but I mean, you've got African influence, you've got island influence. Like, dude, there is so many different folks. So, if you hear an accent, they could be from. I mean, they're pretty distinct throughout the state. I mean, I think
Hmm.
Texas is kind of that way too, but further south you go or further west you go in Texas, people have a tendency to talk a lot slower.
Yeah, and
You know what I
also what
mean?
I'll say about Texas too is like clearly our state is massive,
Mm-hmm.
so it's a lot more spread out, right? Like but I feel like in a state like Louisiana, it's like you go 20 miles north and things change that rapidly. You know what I
Yes.
mean?
Yes. And then there's also pockets too where like, Lafayette's gonna have Lafayette, excuse me, is gonna have a lot more like it's still gonna be flat, but it's gonna be faster. New Orleans is gonna be more like almost New York,
Yeah.
honestly. New Orleans is like New York, kind of fast, kind of Bronxy, if you will. Um, and then obviously down the by is that real flat, what you see on TV kind of stuff, but it's slower. Everything's a lot more pause. They blend a lot more of the French stuff. But Shreveport. So to me, Shreveport is, and God bless them, but they're just kind of like a pass through town. I know that sounds bad, but it's an easy, quick casino to get to, okay, from
Yeah.
Texas. That's like a pretty good casino city. I think it's fairly affordable for the most part. I mean, knock on wood, safe comparative to other casino cities. Um, so it's just like it's like the what do you call it it's like the what do you call it when people jump the border down in Mexico? Tijuana, Terralingua.
Mm.
You know what I
Yeah, I
mean?
think
It's
that's
like
isn't
that,
that
but
that is Tijuana right there, isn't it? Right there.
yeah,
Is that by
Tijuana.
El Paso?
Correct. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like Tijuana, but for casinos, not for
Okay.
cheap booze underage. Well, I
Yeah.
mean, kind of, it's the same thing, but
Yeah, well.
um, yeah. But no, a lot of awesome food, a lot of awesome people. I think the people are more, and I mean, you could say this about any state, but like, I think the people of Louisiana are a lot more, um, accepting and nice than you would think.
Yeah. I mean, I
Honestly,
noticed that.
it's weird.
I noticed that when we went.
Yeah, just like always want to engage. They'll give you the time of day, always want to engage. You pretty much once they know you, you become like they would treat you as if they're family. And I mean that in the best sense. Like I don't mean that cliche like, "Oh, treats me like family, like gives me the shirt off the back." They'll just with nothing in return. They're like, "Well, you could come to our house." And you're like,
Yeah.
"I met you through a friend 6 months ago." And they're like, "Yeah, but you ain't got nowhere to go, so you might as well come." And maybe it's the hurricane mentality.
Yeah, you know what? It probably is. They go through it all the time. They need help. They're just giving back.
That's it, dude.
It really
Um,
truly is.
so anyway, and there's a lot of pictures. I mean, it's funny, but it's not funny. But like, there's all the pictures when the hurricanes do roll through town,
Mhm.
and it's like, we got your back, little buddy, and it's like Texas hugging Louisiana,
Yeah.
or there's one where it's like hurricanes coming to Texas. We've got our we've got our pack on, and it's Texas and Louisiana's its backpack. Like,
Yeah.
there's just a bunch of good graphics, I think. Because
There
everybody
is.
experiences them too, right? I mean, Alabama, Florida, nobody's safe in that Gulf or water region. But yeah, just because of the heat and murk and ugliness of the Gulf, us in the boot,
Yeah.
they tend to take the brunt of it.
Yeah, that is really true about like Texas or Louisiana feeling like, and I don't mean this in a bad way, but like feeling like Texas's little brother, you know?
Yeah.
Because we really do like growing up here. Once you get of age, it's like, oh, we can go gamble, but we're not flying to Vegas. We're just gonna drive
No.
3 hours right to Louisiana because they got it for us. You
Right.
know what I mean? They're hooking us
Yeah.
up.
To You're right. You're right. Two other things that I think are crazy because people all the time. I was in Long Beach, okay, for like 4 days last week, okay,
Uh-huh.
and people were just telling a story about alligators, and they were like, "Just would you believe that?" And I'm like, "Yeah, it's not a
Yeah.
very hard to believe story. What do you mean?"
Yeah.
I was like, "Yeah, so they ran into some alligators, okay, like what?" And they were like,
Yeah.
"No, that's the like that was the punchline." And I was like, "It's a pretty lame fucking story, dude." Like,
That's
and
the
and
punchline. I
then
did
and
that
then it
last Tuesday.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Then it dawned on me that like there are other places that just don't readily have a bunch of alligators.
Oh, that's true. Does that
You know what I mean?
have they never had alligator? Do they
Well,
not
that's
have
what I'm
al?
saying.
Oh my god.
They don't eat it. They don't really see them and of any size. Like maybe in a
Yeah.
zoo, but I don't even think they're in all the zoos. I like how we include them in the fucking zoo. Like, dude, you know how pointless that is for Houston to have a
It's like
alligator exhibit?
it's like
That's like if we
it's
showed
like
up and they were like, "This is a goat." You know
no,
what I
dude.
mean?
That's like going to the zoo in New York and they have like a pigeon exhibit. You know what I mean? Like, what are you
Look,
talking about? I can see those outside for free. Yeah, that's
yes.
kind of some
Check out
BS.
the large gray rat, and you're like, "What?"
Yeah. You mean what I
Um,
stepped on accident on my way over here?
and yeah, there's 7 of them devouring a freaking fast food bag in the parking lot.
In
I
the
don't need
corner of
that
the
in an exhibit.
sidewalk right here. They're on the sidewalk right
So,
next to us.
and then can you imagine the gray rat that would be in captivity in a New York zoo going, "This is some bullshit, dude. Oh, they're getting out and running around.
They're
It's the
getting
whole
pizza?
Goofy and friggin' Pluto story."
Yeah. That
Yeah,
is true.
anyways, the point I was trying to make was like it's just weird to me that obviously because of Louisiana, being so close, and then also we have them here. But it's just so weird that some people don't have exposure to that. And then the other is like crawfish, right? Like
Mm.
there's a guy that used to be he's like from Connecticut, but he used to cover the eastern side of the US. And like anytime he made it to like Southern Carolinas, Alabama, I mean, sorry, Georgia, Alabama. He would always get crawfish, and he would be like, "Hey, dude, you want to get crawfish? It's season." I'm like, "Yeah, I could eat crawfish, but I mean, I can also do them at the house whenever, like
Yeah.
during season. Like we're gonna have them by the sack, readily available to purchase." And he's like, "Dude, that is the luxury." And I'm like, "Yeah, it's pretty normal,
I
kind of
mean,
a normal. It's a seasonal thing."
yeah, I mean that's true. Like I mean, I do love crawfish, don't get me wrong. I enjoy it. I love it. Uh
Me too.
very good. But like yeah, I'm not going like it's not a luxury. You know what I mean? I wouldn't say it's a
No,
luxury. But I mean, I guess for people that yeah, like you're saying can't really get it all the time, it kind of is.
and there's obviously things like that we don't necessarily have here either. I mean, dude, how do we always get hooked on food? Well, first off, Louisiana, you got to mention it. But
You have to
anyways, there's a
mention
lot
food
of
with
things.
Louisiana.
There's a lot of things that we don't necessarily get either. But I think there's so much of Louisiana that blends into Texas, and I don't know if they share so much with Mississippi as they do with us. And maybe it's just because everybody wants their culture. That's one thing I will say about Louisiana. I think everybody wants their culture, not the terrible byproducts that everybody makes fun of and shuns of the
Yeah.
culture, but all the good things I think people want from Louisiana, like their
Hmm.
food and like their uh mindset when it comes to just terrible things. Like just like, well, I guess we'll lace the boots up again today. And I'm like,
Yeah.
really?
I'd
The whole
also like
city's gone.
I would also say like uh I don't know if this is the right way to say it, but like family beliefs,
Yeah,
like like
dude, just
family central beliefs, I guess.
dude, and I again not shitting on any other state, but just like the volume of respect. Like if somebody comes to your house, this is a very good point, and then we can move on. But like me as a guest, as an outsider, if I or in Louisiana, if you meet another family, whether they're from your area or they're from the top part of the boot, the toe, whatever, the first thing that you do to prove that you are worthy of being a guest in their home is to immediately show respect to the eldest mother. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you got to introduce yourself to the dad, or you got to introduce yourself to the grandpa or whatever. But as soon as you show respect to the grandmother or to the mother or
Hmm.
whoever's in the lead, and it's pretty easy to determine who that person is. Once you've shown respect there, and sometimes it can be in the form of like childish, empty flattering, or poking, just kind of flirt, like poking at her, or
Mm-hmm.
ow, like oh, these biscuits are good, but they're a little bit salty, stuff like
Yeah.
that. You know what I mean? Like once you've established that, like, but anyways, because it's a very family centric culture,
Yeah.
and I'm sure that that happens everywhere, but just the pride and like pride in a good way, but just the respect they have for their own families, the respect they have for extended family members, and wanting you to share in that pride and share in that respect, even if it's not their own family, is a very
Yeah.
critical component
Also,
of
well,
Louisiana.
this could just not be how it is, and that's just us on the outside looking in. But this is just what we've experienced.
Yeah,
So,
this is what we've experienced as
and
an
I'm
outsider.
yeah, and I'm gonna choose to believe that they share more with us than Mississippi because it's Mississippi. So
Agreed. If there's anything that we both agree on, us in Louisiana,
it's just
it's
Mississippi.
yes, Mississippi, a little bit of Arkansas, but not as much as Mississippi. I'll
Yeah,
be honest.
yeah, exactly. Which
And it's
Arkansas is a whole
probably
different Arkansas is a whole different story, a whole different episode. Where that's a whole different thing.
it is. I'm gonna make this bold statement. If have to cut it, you have to cut it. I think it's because Louisiana is like they have the upper hand education wise on one state,
Hmm.
and it's Mississippi. I think maybe West Virginia. I'm not quite sure, but they just want to keep it that way. Anyway, um, brings me to okay. So seasonally, we were talking not at all about seasonals, but you know how perfect my segues are.
Yeah,
The Olympics is coming up.
it is.
What do
It
you
is.
right? We're like next week, I think, is when we start. We had a date, an
Oh,
official date, but I didn't check it.
I think when this episode airs, it might be like a couple days out. Um, perhaps,
Dude,
but
that was a very okay. That was a very vague way to still not give us the date. Because like technically we know most of the time we release on Fridays, but like
yeah,
you could release it any day. And did you mean the episode is a couple of days out or the Olympics is a couple of days out? Like
uh,
you managed
I'm
to make
not.
that
I'm not gonna
even
specify.
more
I'm not gonna
arbitrary.
specify
Okay.
at all. We're just gonna roll into it. Yeah. I mean,
I'm not jumping your shit. I thought it was I real quick. I'm not jumping your shit. I thought it was like a little puzzle. I was like, fuck, dude. Is he trying to make me do some math here? All right, so Johnny's got 6 apples. But then, anyway, keep going. I'm sorry.
um. Oh wow. Okay. So actually, when this episode airs, it will be the start of the Olympics. So
Nice. So it's
same day.
on
It is on
the
Friday the 26th.
sweet.
So yeah, I saw a tweet a couple days ago, or maybe a week ago, that was like, regardless of how you feel living in America or I guess not outside of America, but like inside America, being an American, regardless of how you feel about the politics or whatever, right? Everyone's like, man, I really hate this country, or not everyone, but some people are like, man, I really hate this country, and then they're like, but I'll be damned if every 4 years I ain't rooting for us to beat the shit out of everybody else. You know what I mean? And that's very
That
true.
is
There's
true.
nothing that brings the country together than beating other countries at sports and athletic feats.
Oh,
Nothing.
you will
Nothing.
set your shit aside very quickly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um, so are we? I don't know the stats on this. I guess I could Google them, but are we like the Yankees of? Oh man, I need to make a point about that. But are we like the Yankees of the Olympics, or there's some other people that have the upper hand in volume of medals?
Oh, like with straight up how many medals we've won. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say that probably, but I'm gonna look it up. Okay, I'm gonna say yes.
Okay,
We're
you
like the
should look it up.
Yankees. I'm gonna look it up.
Yeah, but you
But
should look it up.
also,
But I saw this.
but also, before we go into that, we're not really like the Yankees because we've also won in recent years, and it wasn't in like the 1920s when we were winning all
Bro,
of them.
so this was the stat that I was gonna tell you, and I should have screenshot it. But it was talking about World Series that the Yankees won. Like they have the most of all time, but like one was like back when the rules were like drastically different. The other bullet point was like when they weren't allowing like 80% of the most talent in the league to actually play in the league.
Yeah, the
There
the
were
the African Americans.
Yeah, maybe
Yeah,
that's what it was referring to. It didn't call that out, but that makes a lot more sense now that you bring it
yeah,
to light. Yeah.
straight
And
up.
then 1,000, yeah. And once integration happened, fuck me, the Yankees didn't stand a chance.
No.
Then the the third bullet point was like obviously all the drugs and steroids, which I mean, you could say what you want. Everybody was on them, but they did pick up like 3 or 4 during that era.
Yeah.
Um, so it all boils down to the fact that they have straight up two legit World Series. And so I was like, oh, so they're basically the same as the rest of us. And then basically the age as a franchise is what gave them the upper hand.
Yeah. Okay, so
Anyway,
this is now I don't think this is gold medals all time. Okay, but I'm
no,
gonna
just medals.
read this out, and this is it. I thought we were in the lead. This is insane to me. Okay,
Like, but okay, go ahead.
the United States has the most medals won in Olympics all time, with 2,667.
Okay, but that's
Second,
any medal.
any medal that's gold, silver, or bronze,
Yeah,
all medals
bronze.
combined.
Okay.
The Soviet Union is in second place with
Yeah.
1,009.
But you
Dude.
know what? Okay, here's the thing. I'm not, listen, America, okay? But also, I'm not, people want to debate, and this, I'm not debating here. I'm not setting the groundwork for this. People want to debate about, oh, the best country, not the best country. We're not even going to leave that to an argument. I mean, I think you firmly understand how I feel about the country
Yeah.
being the best, right? But it's because we have a tendency, because of our uniqueness, of collecting.
Oh yeah.
I'm not giving us an out here. I firmly stand by our fucking just 1,500 medal advantage. Okay, but I mean, we have a tendency to collect families and collect immigrants that want to be the best at anything, right? I don't care if it's
Yeah.
business, if it's education, whatever, right? And it doesn't happen. It's not like they come over and then immediately they're playing for us in the Olympics. It's like they come over and they live the American dream. They
Yeah.
go through the trials and tribulations of living the American dream. And then their offspring is like, oh, by the way, I'm going to run a mile faster than any fucking human on the planet. Okay, maybe
Yeah.
we don't win at that one. But, anyways, there's a lot of stuff that we win at. I'm going to throw this ball farther, this rock farther than any other human being on the planet. And I don't know if it's like the freedom that allows them to do that, if it's the
It's because
American
whenever we
dream.
throw the shot put, an eagle grabs it and carries it further.
I don't know what sound they
You
make,
know what
but
I mean?
it sounds and smells like freedom.
It's yeah. It's the sound of freedom swooping down to carry the shot put further.
Um, but anyways, I'm just saying, I think that's probably what it is, but I didn't realize it was that drastically different. But
Me
the fun
either.
fact, the reason that we brought this up, because we've been wanting to get to this topic, knowing that we're edging up on the Olympics, which the Summer Olympics I like more than the Winter Olympics. There's certain events that I don't necessarily care for, but I like the Summer Olympics better. What were you? Did you have something
Go,
that you were going to share?
go ahead.
Noah?
Go ahead. I got the gold medal count pulled up, but go ahead and finish your train of thought
No,
first.
I was just going to say, because I saw a clip and I brought it to your
Mhm.
attention. This was a couple weeks back, but I saw a clip that was like Michael Phelps has more medals than Mexico.
Oh yeah.
Like, as one human being. And when I told you, but here's the thing, I thought that was going to be hilarious and you and I were going to have a chuckle, and you were like, no, that probably checks out. And I
I
was like,
mean,
fuck, dude. I thought I mean, it does, but it's
yeah.
crazy that one man could have more
I
than the
mean,
country of
of
Mexico.
Mexico. Yeah. Wasn't that a wasn't there a one of the Olympics where he got like 9 medals alone or like 13 medals by himself or something?
Yes, but
And
still,
I think
dude. I mean,
I'm gonna be wrong on this for sure, but he had a lot and like most of them were gold medals. I think he had like one
yes,
silver and the rest were gold. It was crazy.
yes.
It was ridiculous.
He's also like a very unfortunately built. Like, I mean, obviously he had to pay some debts to get those. You know what I mean? Like,
Oh
that
yeah.
is a very weird human being. But you know what? Anyway,
Athletic as hell though. So I pulled up the Olympic gold medal count, right? Which clearly is not going to be a 1,500 medal difference.
no.
But but the United States is in first with 1,077 gold medals all time. Second place is the Soviet Union again with 394.
Dude, we have more gold medals than the Soviet Union has medals, right?
Ye- uh
The Soviet Union you said had 1,009?
yes. Yeah, we have yeah. They have 1,009 total medals and we have 1,077 gold medals.
Okay, are there any asterisks though? Because like, weren't there certain years that people didn't show up? I mean, I'm not saying that would have made the
Well,
difference.
there is some years where some countries don't participate. I know that, like especially depending on where it's at. I think right and like what wars are going on. I feel like some countries don't, but not enough to
Yeah.
make a freaking 1,500 medal difference. You know what I
No,
mean?
definitely not. And I believe if anybody was sitting it out, we probably would be one of them. You know what I mean? Like fucking.
Well, I don't know about that. We like to beat everybody, so probably not. But
No, I know, but I mean, do you know how hard? I mean, maybe back then it wouldn't be so bad, but like, can you imagine now if there was a world war that was going on in Germany again? Okay, I don't know why I picked that one specifically, but I just if there. Okay,
I mean
fuck.
that's
Well,
significant.
like,
It was significant.
no, I know, but I kind of just threw it on Germany as if they would be the ones to do it again. I'm just saying,
I mean they're
like
batting a
if there,
thousand. You know?
I mean, shit, dude. If there was another world war, there's no way right now we would participate in a. Do you think in an Olympics during a world war?
I don't know. I think the thing about the Olympics and even I mean like you're saying back then when it was in Germany was like it was a solidarity thing where everybody still came together in the world like even if you don't support Germany, like there would probably be an outcry and it, let's say it was like not let's say it was Russia or something and the Olympics was in Russia
Yeah,
and there would probably be an
as it was.
outcry and and it might get moved, you know what I mean? Maybe, but like my thing is I feel like everybody would still want to come together and like support and compete with one another. I don't know. That's just me. Like that's how I think about it, but very well.
No,
Yeah,
you're
it could go the
right.
other way.
You're right. It might be. You're right.
I think that's the thing is like you kind of put your differences aside and go in and compete and beat the shit out of each other in athletic feats. That's the fun of it.
What? That's how we should. Well, I mean, obviously, knowing what our historical performance is, that's how we should settle wars. But I guess
Oh.
that's not fair. Um, if what are your what? So what do you like? There seems to be a good divide. I don't want to say like people are. It's a. It's drastically parting the population, but are you a Winter Olympic fan? I like some of the Winter Olympics, but I just feel like the summer is way cooler, which seems oxymoronic now that I said it out loud. But you get what I'm saying.
I think the Summer Olympics the Summer Olympics is always more advertised, I feel like, first off. Okay? And
Summer Olympics is?
yeah, I feel like and I feel like more
Okay.
people have time to watch it because of the time of year.
Hey, real quick, do you think it's just we get more advertising for the Summer Olympics because they're like, yeah, those fucking people down there aren't even gonna know what snow is. They're not gonna know what that is.
There's a very good
Do you think
chance.
this?
Yes, that's very valid.
Okay.
That's very valid.
But anyways, so
But
a lot more Summer Olympic.
yeah, I feel like I get a lot more exposure to the Summer Olympics.
Yeah.
But if we're talking straight event for event, what I watch more of, I'm gonna be honest and say I watch more of the Winter Olympics. Like I love both, right? But like, would I rather watch snowboarding or swimming? I'm watching snowboarding, bro. Would I rather
Yeah,
watch would I rather watch bobsledding or, shot put? Like, dude, I'm watching bobsledding. You know what I mean?
yeah, that's a true story, but I think it's just because I immediately thought like pommel horse versus curling because I'm gonna watch curling. But I think it's just because I think it's just because like growing up, that wasn't shit that existed. You know, we were just like, oh shit, that dude's on a what is that, snow? What first off, that's a trippy
Yeah.
concept. Second
Yeah.
off, he's sliding down it pretty quick, and they're gonna jump how high? Meanwhile, we're like, yeah, so it's a heavy ball. I guarantee you, I
Yeah.
could throw a freaking stick damn near that far. You know what I
I
mean?
I will say
I think that's the difference.
that is also valid, but I will say that the last Summer Olympics in particular, I watched a crap ton of Olympics because I mean not Olympics of gymnastics because of Simone Biles, right? And then
Yeah,
she unfortunately didn't get to finish that one, but it was so hyped around it. I watched a crap ton of it. It was awesome. Gymnastics is awesome to watch at the Olympics. Those people are insane. And then water polo, dude. I always like you always make the joke,
dude.
right, of water polo like, "Oh, dude, what are you playing? Water polo?" Bro, water polo might be the most athletic sport on the face of the
Yes,
planet.
dude. So a couple things. First off, we and I know that we've told this story, but we see her frequently in our Kroger.
Yeah, which is
And
wild
what
to me. That's
what's
just so cool.
which is the other thing that's so alarming is how tiny in person of a human being that she
Yeah.
is.
Just
Also,
just
which is very
110 pounds of pure muscle.
and
I don't know how
just
much she weighs. It just
five
she's just
five
small.
foot 5 foot one maybe. I don't
Yeah, I
even
don't know.
know, but just anyways. The second thing is yeah, I had a buddy in college in the boot. And I guess in high school, they had water polo as I don't know if he played it as like, I don't want to say collegiately, but UIL. Like, I don't know what the fuck it is in high school,
Yeah.
but he was in a league, and I was like, bro, I used to poke fun. I'm like, who the fuck? Water polo? Awesome.
It's
He
like
must have got all the girls, right?
yeah.
But dude, they basically tread water for like an hour.
Yeah, it's insane. It
Yes.
blows. I
And they
would
have
I
to,
would literally wake up at like 3 a.m. to watch these people play water polo against each other, and it was one of the best
yeah.
decisions I ever made in my life.
Dude, it is. So and the other thing that I forget is like, like you also too. This tends to be the way, and I don't know if this is America. I bet you this is every country, but America's the worst about it. Like we were watching the qualifiers a couple of weeks back, and this one dude stumbled, right? Like did like seven
Yeah.
flips and like didn't stick the landing, and I was like, what a
What a
loser, you
piece
know?
of shit.
Exactly, and I do feel like
Uh,
that whenever I watch water polo. It's almost like watching like collegiate soccer or something. I'm like, oh, couldn't make that. And then I think about it, I'm like, oh, this dude's been swimming full speed for like, I don't know, 30 minutes.
yeah,
I
35
bet he's a
minutes.
little winded.
He might be a
You know what
tiny
I
bit
mean?
tired, you know. I
Or there's a
I
lot of times too where you'll see him come out of the water like almost completely, and you're like, oh, that doesn't look that hard to do. If I'm jumping off the bottom,
yeah, which they are not doing. It's just
I know it's
pure
trippy,
propulsion. Um,
crazy.
I will say also, I don't really watch a lot of Olympic basketball, but
Hmm.
uh, refing is significantly better in because they use FIBA rules instead of NBA rules, and so the thing that turns me off a lot from the NBA is the freaking foul baiting where they pump fake and then jump into somebody to get a foul called. That shit don't play in the
Yeah.
Olympics. That don't work in the Olympics. Not like it does in the NBA. So I do enjoy watching that more, but also at the same time I'm just like there's like a 98% chance that the USA is just going to run shop on everybody in Olympic basketball, so like I don't really watch it. Um
Well, because I
I
would say
I mean
we
I
probably have the
felt
most established aside from football, like soccer. We probably have the most established leagues of everything else, right?
uh I mean yeah, except for cricket clearly.
Good
But like
call.
but for the most part, yeah. And I thought, going back to that real quick is like everybody always says, the World Series world champions or like the NBA world champions or the Super Bowl world champions, and everyone's like, we're not playing against the world, and then we go and play like baseball. Like if you put like the Astros or the Dodgers or one of these teams that are always competing every year up against like maybe not Japan's national team, but pretty much any other country's national team, we would probably run rule them. You know what I mean?
I mean, dude, hell,
That's
even
why
the
it's the world
Rockies.
championship.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, yeah, even the Rockies that would get 5 minutes of screen time if we're. But I mean, it's the
Yeah.
same thing with
So
basketball. If you were like who the Celtics won this year, I think. If you put the Celtics up against like any European team, we would probably have our starters out in the second quarter. You know what I mean?
yeah.
I mean, I don't want to sound like a asshole, American that just thinks we're better, but that's why. It's because everybody that wants to play those sports comes here, so we get most of the talent.
Yeah.
It's
This
not that,
is
but at the
back to
same
the point I
time,
made about American Dream.
yeah, but at the same time, not all those people compete for America in the Olympics.
No,
Um,
I know, but I mean, there's a lot of, and I don't mean necessarily just the athletes themselves, but there's a lot of trainers that come here, establish themselves as like collegiate
American.
whether they were successful or not, right? So maybe you were a Chinese or an Indian or a South African, coach, but you come and build a business in America coaching individuals, and we
Yeah,
get the fruits of those labors when it's time for our athletes to go to compete, right? You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? Does that make sense?
exactly. Yeah, no, it's like a pipe. It's a funnel.
Yeah, a
We just
pipeline. Yeah.
Yeah, pipeline. There you go. That's what I was looking for.
Um yeah, so it's just interesting. It's an exciting time of year.
It's
Where
it's a
is it
very
France? Where's it at?
it's in Paris this year, yeah.
Paris. Okay.
Um it is very I mean, like I said, I think the best part is that no matter what's going on in the country, it brings everybody together. Rooting for all our people to do well and go out there and win for us and bring a medal home, and come out on top again. That's the beauty of it for me.
It does, and not just because I was in Louisiana, but in college we treated it like, dude, it was like there were a couple of times where we would just really go all. I mean, I know I'm joking a little bit, but it was like one massive party for a fucking month. Like you could just. It was the World Cup was the same way.
Yeah,
I
I
think
was
I've
about to say the same thing.
yeah, I made mention of that before, but like the World Cup was the same thing. It was like you'd get off work or you would get off of school or whatever the case would be, and you would just find yourself at somebody's house drinking beer. And it could be like 9 a.m. or it could also be like 9 p.m. And with the Olympics, it was the same way. It was like a constant feed of events that you were celebrating, even if you knew nothing about. And it was acceptable to just randomly be at somebody's house that you did or didn't know celebrating that. It was a good time.
Hmm.
And oh, by the way, so that's a small little that's the micro system of the larger macro, which is the United States doing that on a day in, day out. It might not be with beers, it might be with just, you're celebrating at work or you're talking about it at the water cooler if that's still a thing, I guess. But yeah.
Or the most American thing, and just do some nice sugary Coca Colas around the TV screen.
Oh yeah, bro. Just
Hmm.
slamming that high fructose corn syrup.
Slamming some sugar and some. I'm just pretty much, how people do like well, I don't know if you do, but whenever like people do pre-workout, you're supposed to mix it, but some people just do dry straight to the mouth and and then drink it and suck it down with water. People are doing that in America. Like that's the American way, but instead of pre-workout, it's just sugar. We're just dry mouth and sugar. Yeah, let's go Phelps. Woo! You know what I mean? Come on,
Yeah.
LeBron, dunk on him. Just taking dry shots of sugar.
Yeah, it's just an interesting. I mean, it's also just a good time. It's almost like I don't want to say a break, but it's a pause for reality too. You're part of something bigger,
Mhm.
whether you want to be. Everybody. One of the most powerful things I think in anyone's life, I don't care who you are, and you can debate me, but you're fucking wrong, is to be part of something bigger. And I
Yeah,
think if you haven't found you're being part of something bigger, which I think I'm thankful a lot of us have, but if you haven't found that, then the Olympics is a little taste of what that is. But you can find it other places. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
But it's like the one time where you get to be part of something bigger, whether you found it on your own or support it in and of itself.
Yeah. It's also a I mentioned that I really watched a lot of gymnastics last time and water polo and stuff. It's a time for people that are sports fans that can't really watch their sports that they like, and they can watch it on a national level finally. You know what I mean? Like being a
Yep.
baseball fan, being a football fan, you get to watch
Yeah.
your games so often. They're everywhere. But like you don't get to watch the best of the best gymnastics go up against each other all the
Dude,
time. It's hardly
when
ever
when we
televised.
when we were watching the qualifiers, I told Katie the same exact thing. They were up in, I think it was Minnesota, I think, or Wisconsin, is where they were. We were watching that qualifier round, and dude, pretty massive stadium,
Yeah.
packed to the gills.
Yeah.
And I was just like, Jesus, how many people do the high-low bars or whatever? You know what I mean? Like that's what I was thinking in my mind. And then I started thinking about it, and I was like, I bet you there's millions of people that support this industry, whether they're a coach, whether they're a family, whether they are a safety what do you
Yeah.
call, or not ortho, but like health, sports medicine or whatever, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, dude, it was just crazy to see this whole stadium stacked with people. And there was them doing like the pommel horse, the high-low bar, and the mat. And I was like, really? 50,000 people are there today to see the qualifiers for this. This is
Yeah.
crazy.
It's wild, but I mean that's the only, this is like kind of the only chance they get on this national of a stage. Clearly there's like competitions and stuff where you can go and
Yeah,
watch it,
but
but it's
uh,
not like a big deal like baseball is or like football is to the American public, you know what I mean? The
well,
general public.
and I hate to say this too, but like, there's a lot of names out there that I'm sure when are top in their field, whether it be a national competition or an international competition, they could have 10 first place wins. But is that as like powerful as a bronze in the Olympics? It's
Yeah.
shitty to say that, but it's true. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
No, I mean it is. It is true.
Yeah.
It's crazy to think about that, that's their only chance they get, or not their only chance, but they're every what it's 4, is it 4 years or 8 years?
No,
Four.
no, it's every four, but they rotate twos, right? So like 2 years from now will be the Winter Olympics,
Okay, that's what I
and then two
thought.
years from now, yeah.
You know what?
So they're
It's
every
no
four
it's no
years.
coincidence that we're doing the Olympics every election year. You know what I mean? It's really no coincidence. We're doing this on
The
purpose.
Summer Olympics.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Because then we're
Yeah,
leading right into election time. You know what I mean? We're getting
that is
everyone
true.
feeling as patriotic as they can.
Patriotic as possible. Yeah,
Yeah, and then
that
sending
is
them out
true.
there to
That is true.
vote.
I don't feel as I mean, last comment on this. I don't feel as disappointed with a Winter Olympics win or loss as I do with a Summer Olympics loss
I
as an
will I will
American.
say that. I will say that. I might watch more of the Winter Olympics, like not by much, but if we lose in the winter, I'm like, well, you mean yeah, we don't have,
Give it a
the
go.
snow that like Russia does, you know what I mean, or some of these other
Yeah.
places. Um, you mentioned that it was the gymnastics qualifiers or whatever, and I was
Mhm.
talking about this actually I think a couple weeks ago or something, and I was like, wouldn't it's kind of crazy, right? With like the likes of like Simone Biles, or like
Mhm.
she's the only one I know by name. I'm gonna be honest. There's another girl that's really good as well. But for them to have to actually go and qualify, you know what I mean? Like they still have to go and do it and make the
Well,
team.
yeah,
But in
yeah,
my
because
in my brain though, like we're just saying, I'm comparing it to like imagine if every year Patrick Mahomes had to show up to Chiefs camp and like try out to make the team again. Or like Tom Brady had to show up to the Patriots and like earn
well,
his way on every single year. You know what I mean?
the the difference is that the government isn't paying them to play. They're sponsored
No, I get it.
by
I'm
a
just
number
saying,
of
imagine
organizations.
if that's what it was like, right? They didn't get
Oh,
like
you're right.
you didn't get a 10-year massive $400 million contract. You had to show up every year and qualify for your team. Like
I mean,
that's
that
insane.
would change. It would change football, especially if I always think about this. We don't have time to cover it today, but I think we should come back to it. I'm going to plant the little seed. I think that the NFL, I mean, take any, um, really, you could take any national sports franchise, but dude, what if, remember how Little League was? Little League was a point system, right?
Hmm.
You had so many points that you could spend, okay? Give or take. I mean, it wasn't written on paper this way, but you had so many points you could spend. And so everybody went through tryouts every year
Yeah.
and they spent their points. And like, yeah, eventually you would get to the point where you could build a solid team where the points would stay the same year to year, so you could carry the, at least where we played baseball. You could you could carry that team with you because you had weaknesses and you had strengths. Can you imagine if they did that every year? There were no contracts. I mean, you got paid to play and you got paid based on your talent, but there were no contracts. So Mahomes shows up, Brady shows up, Manning back in the get, like everybody shows up and they try out every year, and then they're like, "Oh, Manning, I know you've been with Indianapolis the last couple of years, but now you're gonna play with Tampa Bay." Like, and then you know what I mean? Like they just did it based on a point system. Can you imagine how crazy that would be? It'd be
It'd be
very.
insane.
It would level load. It would what?
It'd be insane. It'd be very inefficient for them because they would have to move all the time. But
Yeah, but they're athletes. Fucking suck it up. Come on.
okay.
Anyways, it would be shitty for that one seasonal period, but then the off season you could live where you want to live, genuinely, because at that point you don't know what team you're gonna play for. But
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it would level load the. It would take, and maybe not so much in football, because I think football, believe it or not, I mean, yeah, there's some franchises that are suffering for one reason or another, but I think, believe it or not, like any week, there's some pretty drastic upsets. I think baseball is drastically different. Like, bro, I
Yeah.
mean, based on the money that the A's have, are they ever gonna fucking make it to the series? Probably not. You know what I mean?
Not unless their owner bucks up and finally pays people.
Ex- exactly. But if everybody was trying out every single beginning of a season, dude, how terrible though would it be for your franchise if you did get on a solid run and
Oh,
you
it'd suck.
didn't get to keep those folks? It'd
Oh
be
yeah.
terrible.
It would suck to lose Altuve. Are you kidding me?
Yeah,
It would hurt my soul. Um,
yeah,
yeah, that would, but it would, it would make it more even, at least.
yeah. It would just be an interesting thing because that's basically what the Olympics is.
Yeah, it is. All right, it is time for us to get in the WWYBDs here. I'm gonna let you go first because I think I've gone first the last couple weeks.
Dude, from the first sip that I took, and I don't want this to be offensive by any means, but this is a beer pong beer.
Yeah.
Dude, to me, this is a beer pong beer. It's it's a very flavorful beer. It's better than your generic, most of the time you're playing with like Keystones or Natty or something like that. But this is like a something that's light. It's got a lot of flavor. It's got some bitterness to it. It's a little it's not it's not more filling, but it should be more filling based on the way that it tastes. But it goes down smooth and it's kind of a party beer to me. So yeah,
Okay.
beer pong beer.
Um, I can
Did you
get
not have
that.
that?
I mean, I when you said it, I was kind of like, yeah, I can kind of get that. That's not what I got. I think it has more flavor than like a beer pong beer to me.
It does.
But it is that same like mouth feel of a beer pong beer.
Hmm.
Especially now that I've had two of them, my mouth's got that like coating that I find
Yep.
very similar to like a Keystone or something like that.
Hmm.
But I think it's a little bit more flavorful. This was I say this a lot, but it's like this was immediately a hot weather beer for me. Um, Specifically, I'm outside, and I think it's the crispness of the citrus that's in it because it felt a lot more refreshing. As soon as it went in and after, it felt great. It felt a lot more refreshing. So I mean, I think honestly, this is like a cookout beer, man. This is a cookout beer for
Okay.
me. Um, and kind of like not a cookout where it's just like a few of you, but
Yeah.
you're kind of like like the neighbors are coming over just because like you're like, yeah, we're making hot dogs and burgers, like come over and get some if you want, you know what I mean? And there's just one guy with an apron at the grill just mixing it up, How do you like your burgers? You know what I mean? We got there's another batch of hot dogs coming off. That's what it's like. You're not doing anything fancy. It's just
Yeah.
it's just cookout. The kids are outside playing. The guys are around the grill cutting it up. That's what I'd be doing for sure.
Not just because we've been talking hurricane, but I was thinking of every time we had a hurricane when I was in college, dude, we couldn't get anything but like Steel Reserve, OE, Colt 45. Occasionally we would get Ice House. So all hurricane, every time there's a hurricane, all I can think of is like very sweet syrupy malt liquor. Like
Mm,
that's just the only thing we ever had to drink.
yeah.
This is not a sweet syrupy malt liquor. It's more, you're right, the
No,
citrus comes through and it's not me, yeah.
no, but I could see myself getting down on some of this during a hurricane for sure.
Oh, if like just Domino's by candlelight,
Oh yeah,
dude,
dude. That's a good WWYBD, honestly.
dude, Domino's by candlelight, but it had to be a Steel Reserve in a fucking 25-ounce can by the pallet.
And
Or
it's
not
getting
pallet, but by the flat.
and it's getting warm in the house. Like the power's been out.
Oh, yeah. You
It's
think we had
steamy.
generators in college? Not a chance.
No. Yeah, windows are open
Nope.
so you can get any kind of breeze that's coming through, you know.
MREs and straight hot Steel Reserve in the black can with the blue bull on it, bud.
MREs, you got water boiling out on the freaking front porch to cook those or what?
No, bro, they got the heat packet. You add water to it
Oh
and it
yeah, that's
generates
right.
heat.
That's right. That's where the heat comes from. My bad.
Um, yeah, you got to take that laxative, otherwise it's going to be a rough week. Anyway, rating. Uh,
Yeah. You want me to go first?
yeah, go ahead, send it.
Um, I mean, I was back and forth on a couple of these categories here in the front, but I rather enjoyed this. I really, really liked it. And I tried to take into account that there was going to be more citrus than like a regular blonde or ale that we've had, right?
Hmm.
Entry and aftertaste, I have a 5 on both of those. I think it's incredible. I think it's really good. It goes,
Oh,
it goes in. I was between a 5 and a
oh,
4 on both of these. Um,
damn. That you went. That's very confident, but keep going.
Yeah. So I got a 5 on both of those. I have a 5 on body as well. I think it pretty much tastes exactly like I would imagine based on what it was. I mean, we said, it's citrusy with honey, but it's not a wheat. I pretty much got that straight up. Um, Color, I have a 5. It's really hard for me to tell on the colors through the camera. I mean, I can kind of see, but I can't. So you can always kind of give or take.
Right.
Yeah, you can always kind of
It's
give
a
or
five.
take on the color, but it looked good to me. And it looked crafty enough to where it wasn't too generic of a beer color, you know? Um,
Mm-hmm.
a bitterness, I have a 4. I think it's good. I mean, it was also almost honestly a 5. Um, but it is a little bit more bitter than like a normal blonde, I think. So I did give it that. Acidity, I have a 5, and fizz, I have a 5. I was burping the entire time. It was very hard for me to not to be able to cover those up throughout the whole episode. But acidity, I have a 5 because I mean it. I had it at a 4, and then I was like, that fruitiness does come through pretty nice, honestly, without being too overwhelming. So my total is a 34. But it was fluctuating between a 34 and like a 31, 32 the whole time.
Damn. So, not in a disrespect way by any means. Um, it was stone cold solid. Um, but I wasn't as flattered by it all across the board. Like it came again. A three is like again. If you think about like pills, think about like a generic American beer. When I pick up a Miller Lite, it is a three all the way across the board,
Yeah.
right? Generic entry, generic taste, same body, same color, bitterness, acidity. It's just that's fucking beer. Like when you think beer, it's Miller Lite's a three all the way across. So with this, and again, I know it's a different comparison, but entry I have as a 4, aftertaste I have as a 4. I don't think it like I think it's just because you were so confident in your 5. I was like, he kind of had a 6, didn't he? But I would say it's not
Well,
quite a 5 for me, but it's better than a 3.
yeah. I didn't have a
Okay.
6. I was between a 4 and a 5. I don't think it's perfect,
Okay.
but
Yeah,
Let's
so
go.
I had a 4. I mean, it's more than just generic. Body, I have a 3. Excuse me. Mouthfeel was where it should have been. Overall coating, the way that it went down, it was just there. Color, I do have a 4. I know that you can't see it as good as I can, but it's a little bit better than what I was expecting. It's more beery than like, dude, I just think like when you pour a Miller Lite or you pour a Michelob or you pour something like that, I mean, it's fucking tinted water. This is like, oh, it's beer. You can tell it's beer from a distance. Not apple juicy, but almost. Bitterness, acidity, and fizz came in right at expectation. Like it was the right bitterness, didn't set me over the top. I didn't go, oh, I see there. I mean, I tasted everything that they told me I was going to taste, but 3's all the way across the board. So my total score is a 24. But I will say this. It's a super solid score. It didn't underperform in any category. And I wanted to keep myself true because easily I could have made this a freaking 60 compared to the Owl T
Yeah.
shit. But, and
Maybe
I know we're not
maybe
comparing this to this.
maybe that's why my score was a little higher because last week. I mean, I didn't have the experience you did last week, but this was
But
significantly better than last week's beer. So,
it's not a fridge sitter. I will recommend, even though I'm sure this sounds or feels like their flagship, so it's probably readily available around there. I don't know how hard it is to get in Texas, but I would recommend. And it's not going to fridge sit. I'm going to indulge in my last one.
oh yeah. No, not a fridge sitter. Definitely recommend. Um Even dude, this is one of those ones I would recommend just for the can because I just think I'm just a sucker for this
Yeah.
generic classic beer design style.
This would appear very well. I want to see this can and this brand in a captain's hat.
Yeah, it'd be nice. It would be
Yeah.
very nice. Um, all right, yeah. Well, it is that point in the podcast where I'm going to tell you to go follow us on social media on Twitter and TikTok at Off the Tap Pod and on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube at Off the Tap Podcast.
As Great Raft Brewing tells us, drink like you live here, but not just when we do bad things.